And now, the general weather around Alaska.
Welcome to Alaska Weather. I'm meteorologist Peter Chan, coming to you from the National Weather Service in Alaska region on this Saturday, January 18th, 2025. And if you'd like additional weather information on top of what you get in these YouTube videos, you can go to weather.gov. That is the National Weather Service's online presence. It'll bring you to a web page with a continental U.S. map clearly displayed, Hawaii, Alaska to the lower left, and then tabs for the territories. And I like to show this map because there's a lot that goes on. We have many people that have moved up to Alaska from different places, or maybe traveling, having family or friends coming and going, or you yourself may be heading into the lower 48. We have quite a change. So one thing to keep in mind, we've had temperatures averaging above normal in Alaska. There was some colder air this past week, especially Yukon Flats, temperatures a little bit colder than 30 below. We had a 1050 high rebuild over the Yukon territories, and there's a couple high centers like that are coming down out of central Canada now and are going to be pushing into the northern portion of the upper Midwest, and as a result, this is driving Arctic air southward. Meanwhile, a front along this area of the eastern U.S., there's going to be a quick spin at low pressure that lays down some heavier snowfall from areas of eastern Kentucky and especially West Virginia on up through eastern Pennsylvania into southern New England, and that's going to help usher in a round of that Arctic air, and that Arctic air is going to make it pretty far south, all the way to the Gulf Coast and southeast portion of the U.S. early next week and through a good portion of next week. It's not uncommon to have this outbreak of cold air. Typically, this happens in the lower 48, mid-January into the mid-February period. So that's not unexpected. And for here in Alaska, there's been some impactful winter weather along the west coast, western interior. That's showing signs it's going to be letting up a bit here after we get past tonight and early on Sunday morning. There's still a few winter weather advisories in effect for areas of the west, but the emphasis now is going to shift eastward with a front. This front has a lot of moisture and windy conditions again. This windy front will bring some heavier rain and snow along areas of the northern Gulf Coast. There's the potential for more strong winds northern Gulf Coast into Turnagain Arm, and that could impact areas like hillside of Anchorage. This is not going to be as big of a storm that the windstorm that struck Anchorage last weekend, but given that there was damage, some of the tree limbs and trees weakened from that really intense storm, this next one may feature wind gusts of 50 to 70 miles an hour. And that could be enough to take down some loose limbs and anything else that was weakened. Also, heavy snow expected in Turnagain and Thompson passes, and we'll talk a bit more about that in a second. So today, there's been some heavier snow in that NOAA Valley on the southward facing slopes of the Brooks Range. Ambler snow, blowing snow 24. Nulato, the snow light on the lighter side with some light fog. That has diminished. The winter storm watch that was in effect here has been allowed to expire. However, Ambler still under a winter weather advisory in the Noatak Valley until 9 p.m. this Saturday evening for an additional maybe 2-3 inches of snowfall. Now, Moose Pass between Seward and Girdwood has ragged overcast, 37 degrees. The areas, the mountains, the backcountry in the eastern Kenai there, in the Chugach Mountains and the Kenai Mountains there, increasing avalanche threat because snow is going to fall up there, and on top of it, some gusty winds. Valdez, another place, overcast 32. Heavy snow will fall, especially in the mountains around Valdez, as I mentioned. Thompson Pass could pick up a couple feet of snow later tonight through midnight Sunday night, along with wind gusts of 45 miles an hour. So looking at, aside from still a winter weather advisory in effect for the Noatak Valley until 9 o'clock this Saturday evening, there's also a winter weather advisory for the southern central portion of the Seward Peninsula, especially the highlands above Nome and Golovin could pick up an additional few inches of snow tonight into early Sunday morning. But more importantly, with this front that's going to be bringing moisture northward, some gusty winds, east winds with this system. So we have a winter weather advisory for Turnagain Pass and then Thompson Pass. Turnagain Pass could see 12 to as much as 20 inches of snow this Saturday evening through midnight Sunday night. Thompson Pass could pick up a couple feet of snow, and there'll be gusty winds in these locations, especially Thompson Pass to 45 miles an hour. In addition, as this front works its way eastward, there's another strong wind field. It's not as strong as the one that I saw way ahead before the Anchorage windstorm, but this one's still respectable. So we'll have east winds coming through Turnagain Arm. So areas like Alyeska, and then as you go down from the upper hillside there of Anchorage, Potter Marsh, Arctic Valley, Bear Valley, could see wind gusts of 50 to 70, maybe a peak gust to near 75 miles an hour in those places that had wind gusts over 100 miles an hour last weekend. So keep that in mind starting late this Saturday evening and especially overnight into Sunday morning. And looking at another issue when you have winds and snow and unstable and temperatures that are going to be a little warmer along the coast here. This is the avalanche danger as of Saturday, the January 18th. I would expect these areas will probably be upgraded to high for tomorrow, including the areas around Valdez, given the pending snow that's going to fall and the strong gusty winds. So again, anybody thinking about being out in the backcountry, be very careful because conditions are going to be unstable there along the mountainsides, and that could lead to avalanches. Now, looking at the satellite imagery, we've had a series of lows come up out of the North Pacific into the Bering and really impacted the southwest and west coast here of the mainland this past week into the early weekend. We're going to start to see a front come eastward, and that's going to shift the emphasis into areas of south central and especially along the Gulf Coast, the northern Gulf Coast. That will eventually spread the precipitation, northern panhandle by late Sunday night, and then across the panhandle on Monday. So putting the satellite imagery in motion, we see a pretty good plume wind field just taking this moisture northward across the west side half of the state. Now today we have a low pressure sitting out there southwest of St. Lawrence Island in the north central Bering. Here comes another impulse. This is the old front. The original front that came in a couple days ago is already up here and kind of troughing out. This is the next one that'll be weakening. And then this one will be linking. Next map will show a little better. Late tonight into Sunday, early Sunday morning, we have that one low kind of pull back this way and another weak low developing. These fronts are going to kind of consolidate, and it's this easterly winds that'll be the result is tighter pressure gradient coming in there along the northern Gulf Coast. There are storm force winds that'll occur here, Hinchinbrook entrance to Middleton Island, and then as those winds come in through Turnagain Arm, we could have some of those strong winds, especially Anchorage hillside, as I mentioned, Potter's Marsh, Bear Valley, Arctic Valley there, could have some gusts 50 to 70, 75 miles an hour on the upper end. And then by the time we get into Sunday afternoon, the winds will start to relax. The moisture will then begin to come this way and move into the northern panhandle Sunday afternoon, especially Sunday night, and then overspread the panhandle early Monday. And we have the potential for snow here along and south of the Alaska Range. So by the time we get into Monday, finally these systems kind of wash out. Still a lingering trough along the outer, near outer Gulf Coast there of the panhandle. Remnant fronts pushed further north and east, and we have another kind of conglomeration here of lows that will be working their way northeastward and bring some additional weather into the Gulf here as we look to the week ahead. But temperature-wise, a couple of mornings ago, it was like 33 below at Arctic Village, so not as cold in the interior, still some sub-zero readings, but notice how much the overnight temperatures have warmed above freezing here in areas of the southwest. There's not a whole lot of snow down through this region, very little compared to normal. And then up here, we have lows in the 20s along the north slope. We even have readings 30, 32 here along the Seward Peninsula. Chilly in through the northern panhandle, go all the way from Wrangell on up toward Petersburg, Juneau, Skagway, and Haines. We're looking at temperatures upper 20s, so it's below freezing. And then on Sunday, we'll keep readings near freezing the inner channels here in the central northern panhandle, maybe near 40, Sitka, Klawock. Getting temperatures a bit above freezing in Anchorage because of that, the easterly winds, initially that's pulling in milder air. Either way, we're going to get temperatures back up lower 40s, Homer down to Kodiak City and across the way over to King Salmon. And then notice here, though, moderate temperatures here over southwest that are above freezing, 35 there at Bethel, So mild by mid-January standards. And then taking a look for lows Monday morning, it could still be near a little below zero, like normal cold spots, Northway and Yukon Flats, but we are going to see a little colder air coming on into the west coast along the Chukchi St. Lawrence, and then the western Seward Peninsula up toward Point Hope. These areas could slip back down into the single digits, and then we see readings near freezing, Anchorage, South Central, and then back out still a little above freezing for the southern and outer coast of the Panhandle. And for Monday afternoon, we should see readings maybe 42, 43 at Sitka, 40-ish. Prince of Wales Island back toward Ketchikan and Metlakatla. Again, there will be a push of some snow that'll go to a mix and then some rain across the Panhandle on Monday. And then in the wake of this system, there's been this push of milder air all up from the Aleutians up along the Alaska Peninsula into the southwest. High temperatures across the Alaska Peninsula, at least in the lower 40s. And this is all going to continue into the week ahead, into next weekend, and toward the end of the month. We have a mild period of weather really going to be anchored here over the southwest mainland, though much of the state could see above normal temperatures. As we get there toward that last week of January, maybe a hint of near normal or slightly below normal temperatures trying to push in along the Chukchi coast, especially up there toward Point Hope or Point Lay. And then we see temperatures go from near normal to maybe a little above normal in the northern Panhandle here, January 24th through the 28th. And precipitation, this is interesting. An area that has already seen above normal snowfall and snowpack this winter, right here, the middle Yukon, Tanana valleys, some places have over 150% of normal snowpack in this area. And that's because we've had so many systems pulling moisture in either from off the Gulf or coming in off the Bering Sea. But it's looking like that period, January 24th through the 28th, there's a pretty high probability there between the Brooks Range and along the middle Yukon. There could be some heavier precipitation. So stay tuned to later forecasts.